Next up is a petition, black bear season regulation petition. Would the petitioners like to step forward?
And thanks. So I'm Kevin Lawrence. I'm from Newbury. I'm a past board member, past board chair. And Bert and I have come up with a petition that is sort of in some ways parallel to what's happening with the department's recommendations and everything.
Thank you, Abigail.
And also have a couple handouts for you here that are informational. So just during my time as a board member and a board chair, we had all kinds of changes that occurred, everything from trapping changes to increasing opportunities for beaver trapping to increasing opportunities for bass fishermen. It just never seemed to end. We're always increasing opportunities. That's really what the big thing is for me in terms of this proposal. Obviously, we know there are bear conflicts that we have to be considerate of, but really it's about more opportunities for the sports who are interested in pursuing these things. And so we came up with 4 ideas that we needed to consider. And we want to extend the bear season through December 15, offer 2 bear tags. Sounds a little bit like the department proposal. I'm going to develop a baiting season similar to New Hampshire's September season and implement these changes in 2027. And my comment would be no excuses for that. Like, this is a change that we can actually do. I have a copy of a 1951-52 game digest that I got off of eBay, which I thought was pretty fun. And I sent you a copy that has this cover, but also the page inside talks about the seasons. And if you look inside those seasons, you see that bear hunting season back in 1950-51 was from June 1st to December 31st. My grandfather participated in this season. He used to also be a trapper for bears during that same time period in Rochester, Vermont. He shot a bear with a shotgun with bird shot, famously walking down the trail towards him and was very famous for that. He said, "You crazy grandpa." But anyway, as well, just kind of identify that the black bear has obviously had a change in what we believe in terms of its value to the state of Vermont. It used to be considered to be just sort of a animal that was causing trouble all the time. It used to be something where there was a bounty. It has changed in terms of how we see its populations and obviously the amount of habitat we have. On the left side, I just pointed out, if some of you older people might remember some of these names from the 70s who were still wardens. Some of these famous people who were wardens like Walt Cabell from Rutland, Harold Dockham, one of my heroes back in the day, Ken Denton Sr., and whose son has retired by now, which is kind of interesting. Hooper, I got a story about him if you want to hear about it, from a warden trainee in the 1980s. But Scott Roden, whose son has retired, so it's just what a legacy Fish and Wildlife has. And I think it's something we can celebrate every day. But if someone wants to take a peek at the 50-51 digest, you can do that. But anyway, historically, bears have had quite a run. We know that bear incidents are not going to go down anytime soon unless things change. And I think the department has done a great job of trying to educate the public about how they can stop having bear conflicts. It's something that the department has been focused on. I think the media demonstrates that. Unfortunately, people are people, and it's hard to get a large percentage of folks to change their ways. I have a dumpster from my apartments, I know, and it's a bit of a battle to keep the bears out of there. I have to decide if I'm going to lock it and make the guy who wants to pick up my trash mad, or if I'm going to not lock it and have the bears have some access to it. I have to get my tenants to split their bags open so the bears don't throw them out and make a mess on the ground. It's not that big a deal to me, but to my tenants, it's somehow a big deal. But anyway, these incidents are going to continue to rise depending on what the bears are up to. It's going to continue unless we make some changes. The bear harvest is something that you think, well, aren't we doing pretty well? And the bear harvest is not going to keep the population down. Like we're doing a great job on the bear harvest. It seems to be increasing. Based on sort of other elements in the year, based on mass crops, I'm sure, and other things. The bear harvest is increasing quite a bit. Actually, I'm sure that line would show an upward trend. However, the bear population is not necessarily decreasing at a rate that allows us to say, oh yeah, we really got a handle on this one. We got that 4,000 number or whatever number we're after. So the idea is if we can increase opportunities for hunters, we're going to have fewer of these conflicts is the hope, as well as maybe have some tools to target specific bears that are having bad bear behaviors and allow us to make some of those changes. And so with our proposal then, We want to go through December 15 as a proposal. My neighbors grow corn. They pick their corn at the end of December. I go in there every year, muzzleloader hunting to track deer, but the bears are in there still in December. They have no reason to go to sleep, in December when there's that much standing corn. My neighbor has probably 75, 80 acres of it. He picks it and uses it for biofuel and other things. So extending the season through December 15, most of the bears, yep, they're going to be sleeping, but that doesn't mean that there aren't still opportunities out there for muzzleloader hunters. A lot of hunters in this room have probably been out there in December and looked down and seen a bear trap and gone, oh, wouldn't that be fun to get behind that one, But of course you can't with a closed season. So, maybe you're not going to shoot another 500 bears during December. Maybe it'll be a dozen, but the idea is that you're increasing opportunity. And that's something we'd really like to see in a proposal that the board makes here. See, we talked about the 2-tag option. And our take on it is that we have options all around the state for animals that aren't necessarily filling every niche. So if you have spaces for bears, where you can take 2 bears, certainly we don't sit here and say, oh gosh, there's not much great squirrel habitat up in, Orleans County, so maybe we should not have a 4 squirrel limit up there. We don't even talk that way. We don't think that way. If the animals aren't there, the hunters are not going to go there either for that species. And frankly, if you say, oh, in F1 and F2, there's not many bears taken there, well, there won't be many bear hunters. And anything that can move over from Zone I, which would be in Rochester over the hill there in Ripton, is going to fill in if there's a hole. So it's not like taking 2 bears statewide is going to be a huge problem. You try to micromanage this kind of thing, and you think, well, oh yeah, what about the influx from Canada? What about the influx from New Hampshire, near where I live? There's bears moving back and forth all the time. It's not like they just stay in one place. I know Killam's studies have shown that the bears will travel 25, 30 miles sometimes in the summer in order to make that possible. And places like Williston, Woodstock, Brattleboro Village, all that kind of stuff, they have bear problems right there in the village. And so you might say, well, that county doesn't need this or that WMU doesn't need this or that, but there's still problems that are occurring in large numbers. And I don't know if there is such a thing as a low density area, but sorry, Bert, I'm kind of running over here a little bit. In terms of baiting season, I had a New Hampshire season last year again for a time and had a good time with it. I've set out a bait at noon and, I watched it on a camera from home. In New Hampshire, you can't hunt the same day you see something on your camera. So that was not my intention. I was working actually going, isn't that cool? And there was a sound cubs came right into the bear bait and they were eating it, trying to figure it out. They did eventually. But it's one of those things where if I'd been hunting there on a legal day where I could legally be there, I could have said to myself, isn't this a cool day? I could have watched the sow, could have watched the cubs, could have waited for the big bear I was after. And that's what baiting allows you to do, is be selective, because you're in a tree stand often, you're looking down on them, you're watching it happen. It's not like it's every day. Frankly, most of my bear visits were at night, where I was not hunting. I could still watch them on a camera if I wanted to and say, oh, look at that, kind of cool. But one thing about baiting season, it lets you hunt a small piece of land. So like where I used to work in Woodstock, Vermont, there was a whole bunch of condos kind of across from the high school. And those dumpsters were raided. Well, they actually didn't have dumpsters. So it was part of the problem that garbage cans were raided so frequently. But a neighbor could go in with just an acre of land, have a bear bait, and with landowner permission, like they do in New Hampshire, and they could shoot a bear right there, right in the village. Whereas if you try to turn dogs loose there or something, that's not going to work, because dogs are going to go near the roads, and no bear hunter would do that. What do you think also about bear baiting, Bert? You had some ideas. It's going to be controversial. Okay, what else?
Bear baiting, reduce the orphan cubs by allowing hunters to confirm a bear does not have cubs. Baiting helps prevent accidental killing of mother bears, sows, which can leave young dependent cubs on their own. Folks, bear baiting is an ethical hunt. You can pick the animal you want to shoot. And if you want to get, the males kill a lot of cubs. And that's science, proves that, right? I could go on and on all night long on this. I could get into, actually bears, most of you guys know bears do not hibernate. They torpor, all right? Some states, they don't hibernate at all. They can come out any time of the year, and especially if they're near a deer yard, where are they going to go? They're going to go right into that deer yard. And that's science. You guys can read all that stuff I'm telling you, you can read. So I could go on with Kevin, pretty much touched everything here. We would like to see this done this year, to go out to public comment and make the change for 27, not 28. We've heard the department wants to do this in 28. We'd like to see this done in 27. It's gone on too long. All right. I started this back in 2017 with Lewis Porter and Mark Scott. All right. And with Forrest Hammond. Had discussions with him on the phone many times, and he agreed. He allowed the bear, not to pick on the Bear Hunting Association, they allowed the Bear Hunting Association to tell them what to do. And that's not right. All right. So that's what I got to say. This is behind by 8 years.
Yeah.
It needs to be done. And not wait till 28. We waited too long. All right. So the 4 tools we got, Kevin actually made one mistake here, and the petition says the second Sunday in December, which is it's not the 15th, but that's beside the point. It's the last day of muzzleloader. Right? Last day of muzzleloader, which is every second Sunday of December, not the 15th. So that's all I got to say. If anybody's got questions, don't be afraid to speak out.
And you can specify the baits you want people to use. It doesn't have to be Dunkin' Donuts, that kind of processed junk. You can say it's going to be grains and seeds. And in the New Hampshire model, you report to GPS, coordinates and draw a map for the game warden. They come check out your bait before the season even begins. So in New Hampshire, you can't start baiting in August. You have to start on the very first day of the season, September 1st. It limits it that way. If you think about the corn harvest, it's happening right about then. So where I am hunting in Vermont and Haverhill, there's a really good incentive to try to intersect those bears before they get to the corn and cause, so much damage there. This is going to be controversial. That's not what I'm trying to say. This is easy, but you're the Fish and Wildlife Board. You know how to deal with controversy. You do what's right. You do what is benefiting the most here. And 2027 is what we're interested in, is not 2028. Just arguing this proposal is 10 years overdue. The board is here to make the rules. The department doesn't make the rules. They support you, and it's really important to be supported. You listen to citizens, you make a rule change, and then you vote on implementation. That's your job. And I just want to recall that there are some much bigger changes that have occurred in the last couple of years. Things like the bait fish regulation changes by watershed. That was a huge change to go from, not doing X, Y, Z and all the other things to saying, yeah, you can do it, in this zone if you stay in that watershed. I mean, that was very complicated for fishers to understand, but the department pulled it off in less than a year. The deer hunting changes you instituted last year, I think, were much more complicated than anything we're talking about. The idea that people are going to shoot does, in the rifle season, you sold that idea. There was controversy, but you overcame it and you voted on it, and the majority voted in favor of it. Could have gone the other way, but you voted on it. You had the opportunity, and it was all completed in less than 12 months, even though the department might have been studying it for a while before that, in terms of what you folks had to do. And if you think about controversy, the agency secretary, the commissioner, the governor, they don't want to have conflicts. They don't want people disagreeing. They would like it just to be a smooth sailing ship. But that's not what the board's charge is. Your charge is to talk about healthy and abundant wildlife. And that's what your job is. It's not to say, well, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't want to vote in a way that makes someone, have angst. So I would argue that you should hold your votes in 2026. You don't want to have to extend this for too long so that suddenly some legislators think they need to get involved, or we have a new governor, which could happen. That's not what we're really after here. Instead, you can get this done. You can have your first vote, as soon as April. You could have your hearings. You could have your second vote. You could have your third vote, which is really a quick one. LCAR could have all this done in September, and you could make the digest easily if you decide to push that schedule. If you say, oh, no, there's a lot of department employees on vacation in August and July, we're just going to wait and have our meetings in September, then you're pushing it off and you're making it harder for yourselves. But if you decide, what? No, but if you decide, no, this is important, we're going to get this done this summer, you can. And I really believe that's important to say to yourselves, we're going to get this done this summer. It's not something we're going to wait another year for. It's time. Anything else, Bert, to finish?
No, I'm good. I have a question.
Thanks.
How long is the baiting season?
It's September.
Oh, all of September?
Yeah.
Yes.
In New Hampshire. Maine might be a little different.
No, Maine same.
Are there any questions or clarifications from us? What do you think? Yeah.
Wait, how about permits? Is it gonna be unlimited? You like to see unlimited permits, or you wanna see lottery and permits for baiting?
In New Hampshire, it's open to everyone who wants it. I mean, it's just an online permit. You fill it out. The game warden receives a copy. The department keeps a copy in Concord. And then it's tracked, I mean, I'm sure the game warden visited my setup to see, hey, how you doing there? And did you pick it up after?
Right. Want to see made statewide.
Statewide, especially in areas that are,
Some areas.
especially areas that are suburban, because there's a lot of bear damage and conflicts there. But you might have a small area of land where you can really bait specifically for the target animal. Where my daughter lives in Williston, it's not a place where you can shoot at 1,000 yards, but near her house, yeah. Any other questions or clarifications? Yeah. And maybe you can tell us now, you've got three ideas. You got the board's idea, you got the bow hunter petition, and you got our petition. Can someone tell me from the Fish and Wildlife Department, what's going to happen? What's next?
So we will, the next meeting in April, I believe we will be giving recommendations from the department on all these petitions from last meeting and this one. And then the board will have
First vote.
we'll have a discussion whether or not to accept or reject those petitions. In the board table.
And for our petition, we don't need you to reject it or accept it. We'd like you to implement some of these ideas. And so you'll get the department recommendation as a board. That's awesome. And then you can add anything you want to it. You can amend it. I mean, theirs is not it's not something that you have to vote on directly. You can change what they've given you. You can add to it. You can take away for that first vote. And that's what we'd like to see. So we're not interested in you saying yes or no to our petition, but rather integrating these ideas into it, because you've got everything you need, I think, to do a good job with this. But I don't know. I just think that the board can run this. This is something you guys can take charge of and do a great job with it. You'll go to the hearings. You'll hear people's conversations. You'll as you know, if I wanted to, I could have sent you 600 signatures in support of this bear baiting thing. I don't think that's what you wanted. You're opening the process up. You're just getting going. Certainly other organizations could send you, 2,000 emails against it that were all just cookie cutter things from Indiana and all over the country, but that's not what you want either. So I hope you can open this up next board meeting and have a first vote on it. I really do. I don't think you need more discussion.
I just got a real quick one, folks. Library, Black Bear Harvest Summary Report. We see the report from 2003 to 2024. We do not see the 25. Why? All right. I'm going to tell you why. Mark Scott and I speak all the time. He stopped the collaring way back. You guys had a study done down in southern part of Vermont that was done for windmills to see if the windmills affect the bears. They wanted to do another study and they haven't finished that one. Last summer, they went back to collaring bears again to figure out the population. You folks know what the population is. We don't have the 25 study done. And it was always done before Yankee Classic Sportsman Show, which is always the third weekend in January. Nick did a great job. All right. He has the moose and the deer. He got his reports out in January. All right. He has a lot more work than just the bear. Why does the bear biologist not have our reports out for 2025? There's nothing. Go on the website, look at it. Muzzleloader ended on the 14th of December. Bear hunt ended November 23rd. She's had plenty of time.
Thanks, Bert. Any other questions for
Can
Kevin and Bert?
I offer just a procedural note here? Statute does require that the board vote on the petitions. Accepting the petition means that we would then proceed with rulemaking.
Okay,
So
that's fine. Yeah.
just as a step, just for the purposes of the petitions that were presented last meeting and then this meeting, because two of them do both relate to amendments to the bear rules, we've decided the department, having heard both of them now, will provide recommendations to the board to discuss next meeting. So, yep, the discussion will continue. You will need to make a vote on the petitions themselves, and then the rule language will reflect whatever you decide in that vote. And then you'll continue to discuss the rule language. So,
One more thing, the maps from 2014 to 2023, the WMU maps look very good. The 24 map does not show the WMU outlines. And I brought that to all your attention. I sent all you guys an email. Never heard back on that. We don't want them to look like the 24 map. They need to be changed like the 23 all the way back to 2014.
Any other questions on process? I hope.
Guys, you remember seeing that?
I have a question, just clarification. So I hear what you're saying about, I looked up the Title III. So for petitions, when they brought in like tonight, we don't take any action. They just, right? You don't, so the action is just, it's here, we can't accept or deny at this point. Gets to the department then, so the next time
well,
Good.
so
or is that not true? Because they just,
if the board, well, we didn't actually warn a vote on the petition tonight.
yeah,
The way that in discussion, we've moved towards a process where the board hears petitions and then does not vote on them until the next meeting, which gives board members the opportunity to hear from constituents and consider the contents of the petition before voting.
because I looked at, I was sick all last week, so I definitely better do it. So I looked at the APA. So anybody can do a written request under Title 3806, right? So then asking for the a rule to be adopted or rejected, amended or whatnot. Then within says 30 days after receiving the request, the agency shall initiate legal proceedings, which either to adopt, amend or reject, right? So that's really what we'd be doing. That this is in, we can't technically do anything about it now. It's just, so the next stage we can decide if we want the rulemaking to go anywhere or just say no.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Yes. And the 30-day deadline, just for the record, because the board only meets once a month, is nearly impossible to meet, but we do the best that we can.
So Bert and I would not mind if our petition was rejected, as long as the ideas were brought forward in amendments to say, no, you're going to do it this way. And you sit from your chair, make an amendment to say, here's the board or here's the department recommendation. I want to add to it. So, or take away. Anyway, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kevin and Bert.